Cyanocida cristata, or the blue jay, with its distinctive blue plumage, is a uniquely beautiful bird common throughout much of North America. However, though a common sight, the secret life it lives right alongside us is quite surprising. There is more to this bird than meets the eye. For example, among many remarkable qualities, the bird seems to have a startling intelligence, which gives new meaning to the term bird brain. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Lucinox. Join us as we discuss the life of a blue jay. What do they eat? How do they raise their young? How do we know they're so smart? How do you tell the males from the females? And more. The blue jay's genus name, Cyanocida, is Greek. Roughly, it means, brace yourself, blue jay, or blue chattering bird. The species name, cristata, is Latin for crested. Blue jays can normally be found year-round approximately here, throughout most of southern Canada and the eastern United States, with their non-breeding wintering range extending even further into parts as far west as the Pacific Northwest. The bird can be somewhat migratory during the winter, with a variation in migratory habits within the species that scientists don't fully understand. It may be related to fluctuations in the poorly understood blue jay economy, job availability, things like that. Usually, however, most blue jays stay put in the same area throughout their lives. Blue jays prefer to live in deciduous, coniferous, and especially mixed-wood forests throughout these regions, often on the edges. Furthermore, they have adapted well to life alongside humans, often being observed in suburban neighborhoods, especially at feeders. As a result of this, the fact that they aren't very timid, relatively, and the bird's distinctive plumage, they're fairly easy to encounter. Male and female blue jays look almost indistinguishable from each other. Not every blue jay looks the same, though, and these slight variations in appearance may actually be used to tell each other apart. However, most of these differences aren't based on sex. The males do tend to be slightly larger than the females, though this is generally difficult to see. Males tend to be about 30 centimeters tall, females 27. Thus, a better way to tell them apart is by observing their behavior, which we'll explore more soon. Blue jays are not very picky eaters. Their diet consists mostly of vegetable matter, things like seeds, like nuts and acorns, grains, and wild fruits. They seem to have a particular love for peanuts. Blue jays may hide nuts that they gather to store for later, and will watch other animals that use this same tactic, such as squirrels, to steal theirs. Squirrels know this, however, and will be less likely to cache food if they hear blue jay calls. Squirrels aren't exactly innocent themselves. Likewise, if a blue jay feels it is being watched by a squirrel or another blue jay, it will pretend to hide food, then take it and hide it somewhere else. They will also often eat insects and other small invertebrates as well. Furthermore, blue jays are somewhat more aggressive than many of the backyard birds around which they live, and have been known to eat the eggs and other chicks of other bird species, even other blue jays. This doesn't seem to be common, though. Inversely, blue jays are food for animals like birds of prey, cats, and dogs, while animals like snakes, squirrels, raccoons, and possums may also consume their eggs and/or chicks. However, blue jays aren't as easy prey as other birds of its size may be. They have been known to attack animals that threaten their eggs or even get too close to their nests, driving away hawks, owls, and even on rare occasion, humans. They aren't the most aggressive birds, but I wouldn't try contacting them about their nest extended warranty. At least not in person. At least, not again. The blue jay was first described in writing by the English naturalist Mark Catesby in 1731, and given its modern scientific name about a century later. Cyanocida cristata shares its genus with only one other extant species, Cyanocida stellari, or the Steller's jay, which lives in the west of North America, namely the Rocky Mountain region and parts of Mexico. As a side fact, as the blue jay range expands, especially westward, due to things like increased tree growth in the Great Plains with more control over forest fires, they have begun to bump up against Steller's jays more and more. Blue and Steller's jays do, in fact, breed in these overlapping areas, producing hybrids. More broadly, blue jays belong to the family Corvidae, also called the crow family. This family includes birds such as crows, ravens, and magpies. This family of birds is known for, among many things, their intelligence, and the blue jay does not appear to be an exception. Animal brain power can be difficult to work out, as it can be difficult to tell what exactly is going on inside their heads. Scientists often begin exploring this by exposing animals to problems that they would not be expected to be able to handle with instinct alone. Blue jays have not been as extensively studied as their fellow brainiac relatives, but they have been observed doing some interesting things. A paper published in 1973, Tool Making and Tool Use in Northern Blue Jay, discusses observations made of caged blue jays that had been raised in captivity, tearing strips from newspapers and using those strips to rake food pellets that were outside their cage, otherwise out of their reach, towards them. This might not sound like much, but it's a form of tool use, which very much stands out in the animal kingdom. Again, this is a question that requires more research, especially in the wild. But the evidence that exists suggests blue jays are at least in the same ballpark as the crows, who have demonstrated such intellectual ability that some argue corvids rival the apes. During winter, blue jays gather into flocks. When spring arrives, the birds distance themselves from each other more and become territorial, as it is the beginning of mating season. The blue jay mating season lasts from about late winter or early spring to the summer. Blue jays seek to mate for life, forming a strong bond with their partner, and will usually only find a new partner if their chosen partner dies. Finding that special someone takes some work, however, and blue jays don't like to rush into things before their prospective partners really demonstrate that they have what they're looking for. The male blue jay will use a variety of things, namely his appearance, song, and a number of courtship rituals to demonstrate his virility and ability to try to woo the female. The female will test these qualities with a tactic we might refer to as playing hard to get. Often, single female blue jays will attract a crowd of males to her. She will then fly around from spot to spot, over and over. The males will pursue her like a crowd of adoring fans, bobbing their heads up and down in a kind of mating dance, trying to gain her attention. She will rest, then take off again, continuing this chase to weed out the males that tire or lose interest. Her aim is to choose only the most persistent male. As the youth today might say, she wants a man who will keep it 100. Once she has a partner in mind, the courtship rituals continue. Male and female blue jays, for example, will actually build incomplete nests which they don't intend to inhabit to demonstrate their skills to their partners. Once mates have selected each other, they, mostly the female, will get to work on the real nest. Although they don't always build their own nests and occasionally occupy the abandoned nests of other birds, namely American robins. Blue jays prefer to build their nests roughly 5 to 10 meters high in a tree or shrub, but will nest in a variety of locations, including man-made structures. Within a few weeks of fertilization, the female lays around 3 to 5 eggs. The blue jay is known, and sometimes disliked for being, a very noisy bird. However, during this period, they actually seem to become rather quiet to avoid drawing attention to their nests. The female, mostly, will incubate these eggs for 2 to 3 weeks, while the male provides food for her. Then, the eggs hatch. Blue jay babies stay in the nest for another 2 to 3 weeks, while both parents gather food for them. At the end of that period, they are fledglings, fully ready to leave the nest. However, they will remain with their parents overall until the fall, at which point, they will go off on their own so that they don't end up competing with their parents for food. By the following spring, they have fully matured and are ready to start families of their own. Blue jays in the north often raise only one brood per year, though this changes the further south you go, with warmer climate blue jays more commonly raising 2 broods a year. The average blue jay that reaches adulthood lives for about 10 years, but can live for much longer. One blue jay that was followed in St. Pierre and Miquelon lived for nearly 27 years in the wild. Blue jays vocalize in a wide variety of ways for a wide variety of reasons, like sounding an alarm or wooing a mate. As hinted at, much like their raven and crow cousins, not all of their calls are regarded as melodic. Fascinatingly, blue jays have calls that rally other blue jays in the area together to attack a predator when one is spotted. They are also capable of mimicry and have been known to mimic the cries of hawks, for example. Why they do this is not clear. It may be to fool hawks into thinking the area is already occupied by a hawk. It may be to cause other birds to flee a resource-rich area. It may be to warn other blue jays of an approaching hawk, or they might just mimic the sounds around them, and red-tailed hawk calls, for example, just happen to get confused with the calls of their own species. As an interesting fact about blue jays, you can somewhat tell how they're feeling from how the crests on their heads are displayed. When the bird is at ease, it is flat. The crest will be raised when the bird becomes agitated or excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, I invite you to come check out the rest of Lucinox, especially my video on cardinals, and to subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. To support the channel, you may make a donation on Patreon, the link to which is in the description. A special thanks to our current patrons listed here. We also have a channel much like this called Fire of Learning, which focuses mainly on history, so be sure to check that out too. Thank you for watching.